I just look at Denver, he reminds me of Drew Brees with a little mobility.
While he's still that talented athlete, he has become so much more of a controlled player and has taken his ability to play quarterback to a different level.
You hear the comparisons to Drew Brees. Okay, let's see if, he's the guy to help make Drew Brees, so let's see if he can do something.
He may all of a sudden Bo Nix may all of a sudden become one of the top quarterbacks in the National Football League under Sean.
To many, the selection of Bo Nix was a reach born out of complete desperation.
I am a little bit worried when I look at the Broncos depth chart that he's walking into. You don't see that kind of speed. There's questions on the offensive line. So while I get the fit, I see the vision, I see that he has a lot of the attributes that Sean Payton has historically liked in quarterbacks. I am a little bit concerned about that sort of transition because he's going to be facing a level of adversity I don't think he really encountered at Oregon.
But to head coach Sean Payton, he is a partner in crime that is willing to bring back memories of a golden era in New Orleans. With Drew Brees by his side, Payton forged a legacy with the Saints, and in Bo Nix, he sees a similar avenue for success. The question now is, though, is Bo Nix up to that task?
Auburn to Oregon, he's had a full career up there, so he's experienced and he's probably, pretty close to being game ready. And,
Can he become the next Drew Brees and salvage the fortunes of a franchise? And look, as we discussed before, the 2024 NFL Draft was a big one for quarterbacks with the likes of Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels, all offering a tantalizing skill set that could allow them to become some of the most exciting players the NFL has ever seen. And in today's video, we are going to wrap up the final quarterback of the Big Six that were picked in this year's draft. I mean, after all, the NFL isn't always about the upside. There is so much projection that goes into the outlook of May and Daniels, and with projection comes risk. But at the other end of the spectrum, you have Bo Nix. And one quick thing before we start, I wanted to celebrate the recent success of the channel of hitting 13,000 subscribers. So to give back to you guys, I wanted to do a giveaway, and the winner will either get a signed mini helmet or jersey. To enter, simply join the Discord by using the link in the description, as well as following me on Twitter. I highly recommend joining the Discord. We are going to be doing watch parties with little mini giveaways during it all NFL season long, as well as a fantasy league to win some big money too once it gets closer to kickoff. So I'll see you guys over there, but for now, let's get back to the video. While Nix can't break free for an 80-yard touchdown run or launch outrageous bombs from unlikely angles, he can do all the quarterbacking essentials at a high level, which certainly counts for something.
Again, when he was younger, he would just run. Now he keeps his eyes down the field and finds a receiver as he's running full speed, cross his body, launch to an open guy for a 35-plus yard gain to Troy Franklin.
Now look, in selecting Nix, you sacrifice some of the potential upside, but in return, you get a much higher floor. He has a remarkable 61 college games under his belt and some very impressive starts to go with them. We are just a couple years removed from an overlooked quarterback with average athleticism being selected at Mr. Irrelevant, only to then go on to become a Pro Bowl player and a Super Bowl runner-up. That quarterback was Brock Purdy, who also entered the league as a more experienced prospect with a higher football IQ. And from this year's draft, we had Bo Nix, who honestly I think could thrive in a Sean Payton offense and outshine some of the quarterbacks taken before him.
The Oregon offense, to some degree, is Drew Brees's. I'm going to design a play with two options. Throw it to it. So remember, Bo doesn't throw a good deep ball. Brees last 5 years, he didn't throw a great deep ball. Let's be honest. Patrick Mahomes no longer throws a deep ball. The deep ball is great if you have Tyreek Hill and a handful of receivers. Not a lot of teams are throwing the deep ball consistently. So my take on Bo Nix is he's a young Brees, and you could say, well, that's ridiculous, but Christ, the guy's been to the SEC. The Pac-12 was the best it's been in 20 years. He was very good.
He was awesome.
High completion percent.
Look, Nixon's 77.4% completion rate in 2023 led the nation, coming in almost 5% better than second place. He also showed a very impressive skill set to protect the football, throwing a turnover-worthy play on only 1% of his attempts, which was also the best in the nation. All of this led to 4,508 passing yards and 45 touchdowns, which was good enough to earn Nix third place in Heisman Heisman Trophy voting. Now, it would be wrong to not acknowledge the fact that he did have those bolstered numbers, considering the fact that a lot of his production came on relatively easy throws. Typically, he threw a very low 6.9 yard average depth of target, which was third lowest in the nation. However, as was pointed out by Hayden Winkins from Underdog Fantasy, if you take away all the production that came from easy screen passes and RPOs in 2023, he was still PFF's highest graded passer and second in the nation in success rate. There is no doubt that Bo Nix benefited from a very good offensive scheme and a lot of yards after the catch, but it is also clear to see that he is a very good quarterback in his own right and someone who can absolutely thrive in the right situation in the NFL. He showcased all the maturity and footballing IQ that you would expect to see from a quarterback who has played 5 years in the college game, but he combines it with enough arm talent and athleticism to suggest that good things can happen in the pro game. Like, the kid looked clinical when he was working from the pocket, but is also fantastic at knowing when to use his legs and extend plays. Unlike when we talked about in my last video with Jaden Daniels, where he just puts his head down, he does not sacrifice any accuracy when throwing on the move. It is a real strength of Nix's game and something that will make him very popular with the Broncos coaching staff.
Has a high football IQ, a lot of RPMs, a lot of horsepower in his brain as far as being able to absorb a lot of information and then use it in real time. All of these things add up to the type of quarterback that ideally I think every head coach wants. But in Denver in particular, I think a guy who can play on time, in rhythm, deliver the football within the structure of the offense the way Sean wants it, which is something that obviously he may have had a little bit of an issue with the last quarterback, who they're going to send out of there, who they sent out of there. I think this guy fits the bill there.
And personally for me, I think that Brock Purdy was a great comparison for Bo Nix in the pre-draft process. And honestly, it seems pretty easy to see how Bo Nix's game could translate in similar fashion to Brock Purdy's. He may not dazzle on the same level as someone like Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, but he should be more capable of operating an NFL offense and executing a well-drawn-up game plan. And trust me, I know that Bo Nix is not going to have the same star-talented lineup carrying him that Brock Purdy has carrying him week in and week out, but Bo Nix does have one thing that Brock Purdy doesn't have, and that's Sean Payton, who's an offensive mastermind. Payton won a Super Bowl and enjoyed 9 winning seasons with Drew Brees, and he likely sees Nix's skill set as a direct comparison to his previous partner in crime. Brees was most well known for his pinpoint accuracy and quick time to throw. It was the ideal skill set for Payton's West Coast offense, which relied on scheming guys open and having a quarterback who could quickly recognize opportunities and pull the trigger. During his last 3 seasons in the league between 2018 and 2020, Drew Brees never averaged more than 2.48 seconds before letting rip, ranking in the top 4 each season. Therefore, it should come as no surprise that Bo Nix caught the eye of Sean Payton because of the similar stats. His 2.44 second average time to throw was 5th fastest in the nation and can be combined with his 77.4% completion rate to portray a very similar skill set to Drew Brees. Brees himself was taken in the 2nd round of the 2001 draft. He went on to completely outplay his draft pedigree by winning a Super Bowl in which he was named the Super Bowl MVP, in addition to winning the NFL Offensive Player of the Year award twice. He was also recognized as a first-team All-Pro player once, a second-team All-Pro player 4 times, and a Pro Bowl player 13 times. In this incredible career, he led the league in passing 7 times and in touchdowns 4 times, resulting in 80,358 yards and 571 touchdowns, which are both good enough for 2nd in the all-time history books. Now, bearing all of that in mind, it seems kind of unfair to compare Bo Nix to Drew Brees. But look, their playstyle is just so similar not to compare. It seems like we just have to. And as Drew Brees didn't come in with the same draft pedigree, Nix kind of does come in with that draft pedigree since the Broncos did reach for him at 12. Now, obviously, no one will be expecting Nix to come in right away and deliver like Drew Brees, but his selection by Sean Payton clearly has that with the end goal in mind. Nix is coming in to replace Russell Wilson, who absolutely did not fit in Payton's system. And while Wilson's numbers did improve after his horrendous first season in Denver, he still held onto the ball for far too long and did not take advantage of the easy opportunities Brees, Payton was serving up for him. In complete contrast to Nix and Brees, Wilson's 3.07 second average time to throw ranked 4th longest in the NFL in 2023. Also coming with a turnover-worthy play percentage that ranked as the 12th worst. This is the polar opposite of what Payton was asking for. In making the bold decision to call it a day on Russell Wilson in one of the worst trades in NFL history, Payton has completely swapped out his old, unreliable quarterback that would extend plays and put the ball at risk for what some people think now is a Drew Brees clone who can put the ball in his receivers and also not only that, but take care of the ball as well. Like, I mean, honestly, what could go wrong with this? And well, I'm glad you asked, because the weapons that are in Denver, as I stated earlier, are not the same type of weapons that Nix had in college. Courtland Sutton has enjoyed a solid career up to this point, but is not exactly a dominant force as the #1 receiver. And aside from him, Denver will be sending out a 29-year-old Josh Reynolds and a sophomore receiver in Marvin Mims, who really couldn't be trusted with a significant role in 2023. But one thing I can say that I am excited for is to see new rookie Troy Franklin as he attempts to bolster that Denver passing attack. And on top of this too, it'll offer Nix a familiar target to aim for. The pair alone last year in the Oregon offense combined for 1,383 yards and 14 touchdowns in 2023. But Franklin's slide to the 4th round suggests NFL front offices have a concern about his skill set translating to the pro game. His slender frame is far from ideal, and scouts won't be happy to see 9 drops on his card for 2023. And on top of that, not really having any solid pass catchers to offer Nix, there's really not an intimidating running force either in the backfield. Javonte Williams could only manage 3.6 yards per carry in his first year back after suffering a season-ending injury as a sophomore. And on top of that, the backups behind him really didn't move the needle either. Now, they did bolster their running back stable by adding Audric Estime, who was added in the 2024 NFL draft, but despite only posting a 4.71 40-yard dash, there is only hope he can add a spark to the backfield and become a go-to guy for Sean Payton and Bo Nix. But despite all of this, I don't want to scare all the Broncos fans. It really could also be a great spot for him to start his career at. Like, despite not being the most explosive group of wide receivers, there is a lot of experience in that wide receiver room. And on top of that, despite them not being like super explosive last year, there is that untapped potential that maybe they could be a great group this year, and like Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims having that explosive potential also. The biggest asset though is Sean Payton. He single-handedly will decide if Bo Nix can either become a clone of Drew Brees or a complete bust. Like, the timing of Nix entering the NFL draft could not have been more perfect. The Broncos have been hunting for a quarterback ever since Peyton Manning left after the 2016 season. And Peyton needed a guy to hitch his wagon to after discarding Russell Wilson. Like, I mean, look, the dead money that came alone with Russell Wilson was eye-watering, which meant a rookie contract was desperately needed for this franchise. In Bo Nix, Peyton not only has a rookie deal, but also a quarterback prospect that is as NFL ready as any rookie quarterback in this class will ever be. Nix has all the attributes needed to impress his coaches during the preseason and outperform the newly acquired Zach Wilson. And it feels kind of crazy saying this because despite Wilson being in the league for 3 years, him and Bo Nix are the same exact age. And I think it's fair to say too that over those 3 years, whether Nix was in college or Wilson was in the NFL, Nix has by far developed in a much better fashion than that of Wilson. Like, I mean, Oregon's own head coach Dan Lanning said he sits in the coaches' meetings and operates at a completely different level than anyone I've ever been around. When you combine this with his perfect skill set for Peyton's offense, it shouldn't take long for him to prove his value over Wilson and give the Broncos the level of competency at the position that they need so desperately. But I think it's fair to say too that there is a lot of pressure on Bo Nix to come in and do just that. Denver's previous first-round quarterback selections have fallen well short of expectations, and the fan base needs a savior. Brock Osweiler and Paxton Lynch are names that Broncos fans wanted to forget in a hurry, and the disastrous trade for Russell Wilson only added to the pain. The pressure will surely be on for Nix to be the solution to a problem that has dragged on for far longer than expected. As well as the fans needing a savior, Sean Payton will also be desperate for him to be a success. Many Many analysts feel Nix's selection was a reach, and we all know that Sean Payton will be keeping receipts. His first year in Denver was a complete mess at times, and he will be very aware that this is the move that will define the remainder of his career as a head coach. Either Payton proves the doubters wrong and turns Nix into a high-level quarterback, or he fails and is likely out of a job. And if that happens, who knows what the future will hold for him after that. The rookie season for Bo Nix promises to be fascinating. He is the quarterback that many thought was taken too high, but the one that arrives in the NFL with the most pro-ready skill set of anybody from the draft. On top of that too, his landing spot in Denver was one of the easiest to predict in all the mock drafts, offering a quick release and accuracy that many felt would be too enticing for Sean Payton to pass on. The glory days of winning a Super Bowl in New Orleans will feel a long time ago for Payton, but with Bo Nix, perhaps there can be more celebrations to come. Now, after everything is said though, I really truly do think that Bo Nix still is just not that great of a quarterback. I do think that he falls into that C tier behind Penix. I personally do think that Penix is only a better quarterback truly because of the weapons that he does have at his hands with Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, and Drake London. Like, once Penix does get a start, I really do think that he can shine. But again, I'm going to consider Bo Nix either a C, or I'd even drop him into the D tier. Just, I don't really think he's that great of a quarterback, but he does offer the most experience out of all of the ones taken this year. So that could be, like I said earlier, could be a great thing in his hands too. But I want to know what you guys think. Let me know down in the comment section below. Is Bo Nix going to be the next great quarterback that the Denver Broncos have, or is he going to be a complete bust? Also throw down a record prediction down there for the Broncos. Honestly, I don't think that they're going to be that great of a team. They're going to be like 6-10, 4-12, maybe 4-13 now. I really don't think they're going to be that great of a team, even though they do have a rookie quarterback. There's just not enough around them to really put anything together. But as I said before, let me know in the comment section below. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next one.